Hi everyone. Welcome to the next video on Ascaris lumbricoides, and this is about the Ascaris life cycle, the life history, and how the infection is made to the human beings, and what are the pathogenesis and parasitic adaptations. Regarding the life cycle, the copulation takes place in the small intestine of the human body, and fertilization is effected by the entry of the sperm into the ova, and this fertilization takes place at the inside the human body. Okay, the fertilized egg, the zygote, it undergoes division, and it forms a 16 cell embryo, and the 16 cell embryo, it is in the form of a hollow ball, which is referred as a blastula, the term which is very familiar to you. And the blastula, the cavity inside, is known as blastocele, isn't it? The blastocele, it undergoes a process of invagination to form the next stage of embryonic cycle, that is a gastrula. The juvenile, which is formed in 10 to 14 days, it has an alimentary canal, a nerve ring, and a larval excretory system. But it is not infective. Okay, the juvenile stage which is formed, it is not infective. It do have all these parts: alimentary canal, nerve ring, and larval excretory system. And because it appears so close to the rhabditis, it resembles so closely with rhabditis, which is another nematode, which is found in the soil. Okay, and this larval stage, it is known as a rhabditiform larva, because it shows resemblance with rhabditis. It is known as a rhabditoid or rhabditiform larva. This rhabditis is a nematode which is found in the soil and human feces. The rhabditiform larva of the first stage is never infective, as we have already mentioned, and in another almost like a week's time, this larva, it molds within the eggshell, and here you can see, right, it is undergoing all these changes within the eggshell itself, isn't it? And it undergoes all these changes within the eggshell, okay, and becomes a second stage rhabditoid, which is capable of infecting the host. Under suitable conditions of moisture, oxygen, and temperature, that is all the vertical conditions when it's favorable, these infective eggs of Ascaris lumbricoides are known to remain viable for about almost 6 years. Okay, and this is actually the infective stage. So there being no intermediate host, a man acquired the infection by directly ingesting these Ascaris eggs, which contains the actually the second stage rhabditoid. Okay, so this egg, which contains like almost like a second stage rhabditoid, is highly infective, and it is the stage at which the infection or it becomes infective. Okay, these infective second stage rhabditoid larva, it may enter the human body along with contaminated food or water. So in the small intestine, when they reach there, by the action of digestive juices, the egg shells dissolve and the juveniles come out. Okay, so you can see here, once this get along with all those infected vegetables, water, or other food items, it may enter the body, and after that it may reach the intestine. Okay, it may directly reach the intestine, and the digestive juices over the intestine, it will actually degrade or digest the eggshells, all those coverings around the larva, and the larva is liberated, the larva escapes out. Okay, and now what happens is here, that is on hatching out, the juvenile, it performs active thrashing movements and bores through the epithelium of the intestine. Okay, it bores through the intestinal mucosa and enter the hepatic portal system. Okay, it is a circulation, right? Hepatic portal circulation, and through this it reaches the liver. So that is this blood, it takes the larva to the liver, from where it finally reaches the heart. So you can see here, the portal circulation to liver from and via right heart enters the lungs. Okay, so from the heart it is transported to the lungs along the pulmonary artery. So the larva generally remains in the lung for a few days, and then it increases in size. and then it ruptures out the blood capillary and finally bores its way into the alveoli. So it actually breaks out of the pulmonary capillaries and reach the lung alveoli where it bores into. Okay. After about 6 days, stay over there, the second stage larva molds to become the third stage larva. That is the next phase. Okay, the third stage larva. And after almost 4 days, another mold occurs, and the fourth stage larva is molted out. Okay, the fourth stage larva leaves its temporary home in the alveoli. So it leaves the alveoli and moves along the trachea to reach the pharynx. Okay, now from the pharynx it is scuffed out and then swallowed into the gut. So it reaches back into the gut, from there to the intestine. So in the intestine, this fourth stage larva, it molds, and the last it is the last mold and it becomes the adult. Okay, and within like 8 to 10 weeks this adult attains a sexual maturity. I hope that part is clear. Okay, so the eggs, it undergoes plastulation, gastrulation, passes through blastula and gastrula stage, and it forms the first juvenile stage. Since it is almost closely resembling the rhabditis, it is the larva is known as rhabditiform larva. The first stage rhabditiform larva molds into the second stage rhabditiform larva, which is now infective, and this second stage rhabditiform larva, it is still enveloped with the egg shells, and this along with food, water, etc., it enters the human body, and it is once these contaminated water and food is consumed, it reaches the gut, where in the intestine the digestive juices will digest and break down all the shell membranes, and the larva escapes out. The larva then moves back into the reaches the liver through the portal circulation. That is, it goes through the intestinal wall and then it passes through the portal circulation to the liver, from there to the heart, from there to the lungs, okay, through the pulmonary artery, and reaching the lungs it will enter the alveoli. Okay, sorry, yeah. So and then it will mold into the third stage larva and the fourth stage larva. The fourth stage larva, which is formed in the alveoli, it will migrate. Okay, migration in 10 to 15 days, and this will migrate and will reach the intestine, where the last molting happens to form the adult. Okay, and within almost like 10 weeks, this adult which has molted out in the intestine, it will attain sexual maturity and can take up the this particular cycle once again. So this is how the whole thing happens. Okay, this is the actual figures of unfertilized egg and the fertilized eggs, and the individual, the adult roundworm in the inframarine, you can see. So this is the life cycle of the Ascaris lumbricoides. Now the disease caused by Ascaris, it is referred as Ascariasis, and we can see that this heavy infection, it is what results in Ascariasis, especially in children. And in this, it may block the intestine, bile duct, or pancreatic duct. It is usually due to a huge population increase, the overpopulation. Okay, and overpopulated parasite, they may they depend on the food and of the host and cause anemia, and it even sometimes produce certain toxins which irritate and injure the intestinal mucosa. So this may result in peritonitis and destroys the protein digesting enzyme trypsin. So in children, massive infection may cause mental dullness, delirium, convulsions, and stunted growth. So this is about the pathogenesis of Ascaris. Okay. Then regarding the parasitic adaptations, we can here also, just like any other parasite, we can consider it under two headings, that is degenerations and neoformations. Under degenerations, we can see the locomotor, digestive, circulatory, and respiratory organs are absent because it is a parasite completely residing in the intestine. They don't need any of these structures. Now, absence of brain and receptor organs, just like any other parasite, again stimulus reception and nervous coordination is of no use in a parasitic mode of life, especially when it is a completely endoparasite. Okay, obligate endoparasite. Now, regarding neoformations, the presence of a resistant cuticle is a must for a parasite, for an endoparasite of intestine. And then anaerobic respiration, suctural pharynx, obviously it needs a muscular suctural pharynx for sucking in fluid food. Then hemoglobin in muscles and pseudocoelomic fluid for the uptake and transport of oxygen. It is for the being a pseudocoelomic animal, it do have all these additional parasitic adaptations. Then the embryonic stages, you can see they have a hard and protective shell to protect these embryo during the when it is passing through the adverse conditions. Okay, so these are the parasitic adaptations. So this is all about the Ascaris. We saw Ascaris, the morphological features, the sexual dimorphism. We saw the what we call life cycle, and then we had the parasitic adaptations and pathogenesis. Fine. Okay, so this is all about Ascaris. Thank you.